Any minute now, and there we go. All right, Sagaz on the left, Spiraster on the right. And
oh no, we're still little though.
Oh, how do we go big?
I think Cyclone has to do that. Cyclone, help!
All right, so the first thing these runners are going to have to do is go get the sword, as one does in virtually any Zelda game. And then the RNG that kind of plagues a lot of the early part of this run is going to begin, with them farming for 10 rupees.
Yeah, this beginning section is one of the most RNG heavy parts of the game. Thankfully, it's so early that if you have to reset due to bad luck, then it's relatively easy to. So both runners here doing a trick called Quick Sword. So there's two setups for this, one from the top and one from the side. It looks like both are going the side method. It just allows you to pick up the sword ever so slightly quicker.
Alright, and now the rupee farming can begin. So anytime one of these Spinies or an Octorok drops a rupee, they have a chance to be able to clone it by sticking their shield out. So they're going to do a little route over here, kill as many enemies as possible, and before they save and quit back to the house, hopefully they're both at or very close to 10 rupees. It's like, Sagaz is having some very good luck right now. Spiraster catching up.
Wow, both of them are...
They both got to 9, didn't they? Yeah, getting 9 is very good. Unless you get trolled really hard here, you're very happy with that.
You were saying about getting trolled hard?
Sagaz got what he needed. The Spiraster's not quite as good of luck, but he's getting tons of hearts at least. Okay, so that's not great. It's not that bad, but yeah, Sagaz is gonna get a 5-second or so lead early on. So you steal from the shop in this game. They're both gonna steal shovel, buy some bombs, and then steal the bow, and then they'll be really well equipped right off the bat.
So do you want to talk about what the requirements are for this category?
Sure, so the 100% definition is fairly similar to what you might call just a full menu completion. You have to beat all the dungeons, obviously. You don't have to get all the dungeon items, but you have to, that being, to get the map encompassing each dungeon. You have to get every actual item. You have to get all the item upgrades. Those would be level 2 shield, sword, bracelet, and the capacity upgrades for everything. That would be the powder, the bombs, and the arrows. You also have to get the blue tunic in the color dungeon. And you have to collect all 12 photos. And I think that covers it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
So speaking of photos, stealing from the shop is actually a required photo. We'll be seeing the photographer in a little bit, but thankfully just stealing from the shop now automatically gives us that photo.
Yeah, it's kind of our secret first item that we already have, so... One thing that is not a requirement for 100% is getting all the seashells, and that's because the way seashells work in this game is a little unorthodox for 100%. There's 26 of them in the game, but you only need to get 20 for the level 2 sword, and once you collect the sword, all the rest of them disappear. So it doesn't really make sense to actually have that as a requirement, so you just gotta get 20 to get the sword upgrade, and you're good to go.
So both our runners here heading up to one of the most important glitches in the game, known as bomb triggers. So essentially what happens is if you place 2 bombs within about 4 frames of each other, certain things happen on some screens. Cutscenes play, pieces of heart magically come to your hand. It's weird. So as you can see on Spiraster's screen, he did a bomb trigger there, and it turned Terran back into human. Didn't have to use the magic powder. So we'll be using that a whole bunch to skip some various cutscenes and such.
Yeah, that one only saves 5 seconds or so. There's some much more devastatingly broken ones, like in any percent you can skip the walrus, which skips the entire Marin subquest. It's not as big a deal in 100% because you have to get Marin for some pictures, but bomb triggers are one of the most powerful things you can do in this game. Alright, so they're both in Dungeon 1 now. This is a fairly quick dungeon. There's only a couple rooms, so you have to get the seashell in here. But the thing that is exciting that they will get here is the Rock's Feather, which is where this really starts to feel like a speedrun. jumping around in this game is fun. Plus, it's actually faster to jump diagonally than to walk diagonally, so which gives this game some very cool movement patterns, which I'm sure we'll start seeing immediately once they pick up the feather. You'll see a lot of just hopping around.
Yeah, and feather will be useful also for a very important glitch that is we're going to see soon, known as super jumping. So there's our feather.
Nice damageless skip by Sagaz there. That's actually quite hard, at least for me.
I don't even do that boost. I just wait for the spikes to go away.
Yeah, Spiraster's got a little low on health, so he won't be able to do that. So here's the first super jump that White Wolfers was talking about. This involves just going into a wall, jumping, reversing direction, and slashing a sword or shooting an arrow using some other item, which is, it's a lot of buttons, but it's not that hard once you get the hang of it. It allows you to essentially do a ledge jump after jumping off of any wall, so you can jump over stuff, get some extra height for sometimes when you need it. And both that and bomb triggers are relatively recent. Well, when I say relatively, I mean the last, like, 3 years. They weren't around a long time ago, but they've together really revolutionized the way this game is played.
And that was a very clean Moldorm fight there.
Yeah, Moldorm is actually one of the hardest bosses in this game, which says more about the quality of the other bosses than about Moldorm itself, but he can really mess you up. He's at least as trolly as he is in LTTP, and yeah, Sagaz breezing by him. We'll see how Spiraster does. Yeah. And pretty good.
Very nice. Thankfully, if you do fall down on that fight, it doesn't take too long to get back up, but still very annoying.
So next stop is Bottle Grotto, after we pick up our good friend Bow Wow. We've already seen a number of Mario enemies and friends in this game, and we're going to see a couple more coming up. This game is honestly a Mario game that happens to star Zelda, Link rather, for some reason.
Yeah, so Bow Wow is, he's used a lot more in the main any percent category. You actually take him around the whole island. But in this category, we'll only have him for a very short amount of time. So, won't be able to help us out too much, but he does have one very important use, which is getting into the second dungeon. Right, picking up our first heart piece here.
Yeah, apparently you do that now. I thought that actually happened later in the run at this point, but as I said, Sagaz, every time I watch him run, I see something different in the route.
So in this game, there are 12 pieces of heart that you have to pick up, as well as a full heart container after each dungeon. So now Sagaz is going over here to the camera shop. So this is the mouse rat that somehow took our picture without us realizing when we stole from the shop. But now we'll get our first look at them. So you have to get this photo now before going into the Moblin Cave, where you rescue Bow Wow, because for some reason you can't enter the camera shop with Bow Wow. I don't know why.
No, well, mice hate dogs, I guess.
I guess.
You actually can't, most of the time if you have a follower, the camera guy will just not show up to any of the cutscenes he's supposed to, so that's one of the reasons we returned Bow Wow, to make it so we can actually get pictures further in the game.
If you want to see more of Bow Wow, watch some any percent no squoob.
Ooh, okay, that was close. Sagaz almost messed the 2 cycle on the Moblin King. But he's kept his, like, 10-second lead from his really good opening all the way through here at this point. Maybe even built on it a little. So at this point, we're headed straight into Dungeon 2. This is my least favorite dungeon. I think it's really bad.
It's okay. Doesn't really have anything super interesting trick-wise going for it. Whoa, Bow Wow was very hungry today.
Yeah, that's another big RNG piece of the beginning of this game. We have to wait for Bow Wow to eat a flower so we can get into the second dungeon, and the mechanisms by which he decides to eat flowers are basically completely random. You can sit there for like 10 seconds straight, and he'll just kind of sit there chilling, smelling the flowers instead of eating them. So Sagaz was not inflicted with any such blight. And Spiraster
Ooh,
gets a very good D2 entrance, so
very
very
nice.
good to see people not losing time to dumb stuff in tournament races.
Or at the very least, if they lose time to dumb stuff, they need to equally lose time to dumb stuff.
Yeah. Definitely don't want to see a run decided by nothing but someone getting god luck and someone getting terrible luck.
Yeah, thankfully, there's not that many completely RNG spots in this run.
Until the end of the game, we'll get there.
Until the end.
Yeah. At this point, most of that's behind us.
Yeah, I think the only thing left is horse heads.
So the mini-boss, which Spiraster's heading into now, is Hinox, who is... Many mini-bosses are turned into absolute jokes by the bow and arrow, which the game did not expect you to have at this point. Because I guess they just figured you wouldn't figure out how to steal from the shop, but a lot of people just go down in 2 hits. Just like that.
I guess the game programmers thought we would be good people, not steal. So in this room here, you have to kill those 3 enemies in a particular order. And sometimes it can get tricky because you have to kill those bunny-like enemies with a pot. So if other enemies get in your way, and then you kill them in the wrong order, it can be very annoying.
So mice and dogs, I guess, are your friends, but bunnies are enemies. I wonder what level of like the carnivore tree does Link apparently sit at here?
Well, considering by the end of the game, spoilers, he essentially destroys everyone. It's pretty much at the very top.
Oh, his best friend's a seagull too. He's got a
Who
really
even
great diet.
knows?
But this is Genie in a bottle. It's a very slow, drawn-out fight usually, but there's a couple of quick kills that beat both of his phases. First of all, if you just toss him into the wall, if you clipped into it there, you skip the entire first phase, and here with a nice little bomb arrow shot, you can just insta-give him, so that was very well done by Sagaz. And coming out of this dungeon, we have both the Rock's Feather and the Bracelet, which those 2 items combined give us a lot of power to just move around to most parts of the map we would want to. So now we can start seeing some of the overworld. First thing he's going to do is head over east to get to the waterfall and just take a peek at the warp and then save and quit. Just looking at that warp allows him to warp to it later, which he doesn't have anything to do at Dungeon 4 at this point, but this is the fastest way to route in getting to this warp point.
Yeah, we will be using this warp a lot throughout this run for movement and such.
Alright. Well, Spiraster's still 20-ish seconds behind, still a quite even race coming into the middle part of the run. And now is the part where I feel like the execution really starts to matter, because we're going to pick up the Pegasus boots pretty soon. Movement's about to get a lot cooler.
So we picked up another heart piece right there, and now we're heading back into the woods to talk to our friend, the Bat, the Mad Bat. So we'll see him 3 times in this run, and he upgrades your bombs, your arrows, and your magic powder. So you actually have 2 options here, which determines what he will upgrade. Annoyingly, the first option is magic powder, which is almost useless. It has a very few number of uses. But what we want to upgrade here are bombs.
Yeah,
so
everyone has at some point ended a run by accidentally selecting magic powder and then just running out of bombs immediately. Not to mention, you just kind of have to memorize the order because it's all in Japanese.
Yeah, it's always the second one.
Yeah, that's It's very easy to just like double flick the stick or just not flick it at all, and then end up with a whole bunch of powder.
And now Sagaz here digging for some more seashells. Who left that there?
I don't know what the lore behind where the seashells actually came from was. I know the Seashell Mansion Warden wants them. I don't think there is any lore behind that. That's kind of lazy.
Maybe that was like someone's pet, and that was their seashell. It's like a crab or something.
Or Bow Wow. Is
Maybe.
Bow Wow the secret villain of this game?
Well, he does eat a lot, especially in the any percent run.
You never actually see the Warden of the Seashell Mansion. She might just be a ghost. Because Bow Wow ate her. Anyway, so this is the first photo cutscene we're going to see. A lot of these photos do have cutscenes. Richard, who we have never actually met, but the game assumes we have, is just going to come and say hi to us. And we're going to get a nice photo, which you can purchase the Game Boy printer, which I have still never actually seen in person, to print these out and cherish forever.
Yeah, I never had a Game Boy printer either.
Nintendo has flirted with a lot of very interesting gimmick ideas in the past. I think this is the gimmickiest of all. I can't think of anything that competes with the Game Boy printer.
So now we're entering the Seashell Mansion. The main thing you get here is the level 2 sword, which requires 20 seashells. However, if you go there when you have exactly 5 and exactly 10 seashells, you'll get an extra one for free. So we will be getting both of those extra ones. And now on Sagaz's side, doing a trick here called Villas Give. So essentially what you do, you kind of push yourself down to the bottom of this pit, and then at a certain audio cue, you transition and it pushes you down, which skips having to go around and get all of these leaves. And that allows us to get the dungeon key, which looks like a leaf, but trust us, it's an actual key.
Yeah, this is perhaps the biggest skip in 100% because we have to actually do so much of the game, but there is nothing in Catalina Castle that actually has a requirement for 100%, so we can skip the entire thing.
Hello, Richard. Goodbye, Richard.
Yep, we're going the wrong way for Richard. He's moved off to the side just because we already stole his key from him.
Where did he get all those frogs?
I guess frogs are neutral, so Link doesn't really care about those. Alright, so the next glitch we'll be introducing you to is Jesus jumping. You pause buffer until you are about to fall into the water, and then you can just jump off of it. And that's just so we can get the seashell a little earlier than we're supposed to.
Yeah, so we're doing it twice here. We're using it at various points in this run, especially when we don't have the flippers.
But now we're into Dungeon 3, so... We do most of this dungeon. We can skip a couple keys at the end, but most of the dungeons in this game until the last 3 or so aren't very long anyway. So we'll be breezing through it pretty quickly. Pick up the Pegasus boots, which, as you might expect, a speedrunner loves because it helps you go faster. In conjunction with the Rock's Feather, you can do a much longer jump than usual. Sometimes you jump even longer than you're supposed to, which we might see later in the run.
So one thing you're probably noticing here is that Sagaz is killing a lot of enemies. And the reason for that isn't drop. Yes, there it is. So that upside down triangle is what is known as piece of power. So when you kill a certain number of enemies, it drops. It gives you increased damage and speed. So in the main any percent category, we see that a lot. But unfortunately, the counter for piece of power resets every time you save and quit. So since this run we save and quit a lot, this is the only spot that we actually see it.
Yeah, we got to free roll this one just because there's so many enemies in this dungeon that we have to kill. But...
Also, so Sagaz, how could you? Sword on B.
Yeah, he does that. And we've had talks. I think he's beyond hope. So yeah, you just saw the Dodongos twice, which is the mini boss of this game. We can do a tricky little super jump to skip it, which you have to do 2 times, and then we can do a what we call a flock clip, which just means you clip into a block that brings up a text box, and then you can kind of shimmy on past it to the side, and that skips a key as well. And now we're into the slime ice fight.
Yeah, you can do those flock clips pretty much anywhere that you get a text box when you push on it saying, "Oh, you can't touch this," for whatever reason. Very clean fight there. Having piece of power for that boss makes him go down very quickly.
Yeah, Sagaz is... I've seen basically no mistakes from him so far. This is a great run.
Alright, so the next part of this run is a lot of busy work. Essentially, we're going to be running around this island, getting a whole bunch of seashells, getting a whole bunch of pieces of heart, and a whole bunch of photos. But first, an annoying owl.
He's the... Coming back to Link's choice of diet, I wish Owl was on that list so we could just eat him the first time and never have to talk to him again.
Yeah, Bow Wow eats a lot of things in this game. Monsters, flowers, cutscenes. Does not eat owls, though.
We do know he eats Octoroks from some other Zelda material that a lot of people wish didn't exist.
Saga's entering this cave here to get that piece of heart and then ducking out. And now we will be getting an item for the trading sequence. Now, most of this trading sequence we skip through a variety of means, but we do need to get a few items so that certain people are where they're supposed to be.
We've already actually skipped half of it at this point. We're supposed to get all the way up to the bananas and the stick to go to Cantaloupe Castle, which of course we skipped. The only reason we're picking this part is because getting the pineapple is going to put Marin onto the beach. Then we're going to skip the second half of it and basically get all the way to the necklace and the magnifying lens.
So now we are returning to the Seashell Mansion because with that seashell in the bush, we now have 10.
Hope so, at least. We'll see if Sagaz
Hopefully.
got it right.
Hooray!
Yep.
Didn't miss any.
Oh, he misses the saving quit, though.
So
By
disappointed.
3 seconds or so.
So after Sagaz picks up this seashell here in this strange maze, going to go to Animal Village. So in Animal Village, we'll be trading our honey for pineapple, which is what puts Marin on the beach, as Jacob said. And also we'll be activating this warp point down below, which we will once again be using a whole bunch to get around the island.
So next stop is back in Maid Village. We're going to just kind of run through the whole thing, clear all the stuff we couldn't get before now that we have all these items. A couple heart pieces, a seashell or two maybe, a photo.
But before all of that, we have to pick up a very important item, the ocarina.
Slightly important.
Really isn't that important.
It's never actually required for anything except the 100% definition, actually. We can skip all the cases where we need the songs. We do get some good use out of Mambo's Mambo, but obviously, just getting to hear Mambo's Mambo is a good enough reward in itself. I would get it even if it wasn't part of the definition of the category.
Yeah, so the times... So either we skip what the song is intended for, or we can play the song using bomb triggers. So in the any percent category, we don't pick up the ocarina at all. And now it's time to fish. Will Sagaz get the fish the pond world record?
That's locked up. That's one of the most competitive categories in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Can't just run in and take that. So, strategy here is you do have to, the first fish just kind of camping the space that the lure falls down, so you have to let him run away, but then you have free reign to get the heart piece. Now we'll be saying goodbye to our good friend Bow Wow.
Oh, Bow Wow, we will miss you. We'll see you in any percent. Also, I must say, this is my favorite photograph.
I like the shop stealing photograph.
The shop one is nice, but I think this one is cute. Also, you don't actually get to see that photograph in this run. But you do get to see that one.
It's the fastest one, that's why it's the best one.
Oh, but that one's so much cuter.
Costs 0 frames.
That one not so cute.
Not quite as much.
No one can beat the cuteness of Bow Wow.
Now we're finally on our way to pick up Marin.
Oh, not quite yet. So we have to go.
We do have to get the seashell, yeah.
Gotta get the seashell. Now we're on our way to pick up Marin.
And in this world of glitches and skips, the only reason we get Marin at all is to get the photograph that is locked behind her. We don't need her for anything else at all.
Well, we need her because she's best girl. Jeez, Sagaz turning his back on Marin as he talks to her. That's not a good start to a relationship.
Well, I'm sure he's just manipulating the seagull RNG here, so let's see how he does. We want these to stay as close together as possible. It's great right now, actually. That's some good manip. Oh, no, it's getting... Okay, never mind. It's getting way worse now. Alright, I take it back. This is pretty pathetic, actually.
Tisk tisk, Sagaz.
This is resettable.
Do it again. You got a girlfriend!
Yep. The one and only real date that Link has been on, and it's all in a dream. What a poor guy.
Spoilers. Yeah, so the thing here that makes me slightly mad at Sagaz for is that because of changes to the route, unfortunately our date is no longer as long as it used to be, just because there are a few more seashells that we used to pick up as when we were on this date, and now we pick up alone. So sad.
Now, at least Spiraster knows how to bonk the ocean there. He's doing it right.
There you go. He's floated in midair. Alright, now we're going to get a photograph that is a lot of people's favorites. Our most hated enemy of all, Terran. Look at his horribleness. He's blocking that cock. I'm just so disappointed in him. How else will we see the description now?
And I hope we enjoyed our date. It's time to say goodbye to Marin already.
Oh, Marin, we hardly knew ye.
So coming up is what would be the biggest skip in the run if this was any percent. We could bomb trigger the walrus to be able to just not get Marin at all. We'll still bomb trigger her just because it's a little bit faster than actually talking to it, but it doesn't matter a whole lot.
Yeah, so there are two methods of doing this bomb trigger, one from the side and one from the top. Most people in this category do it from the side. It's a little bit faster. So in the any percent category, this trick can be a little bit of a pain because you actually have to leave the screen at a certain time, otherwise the game will soft lock because of that evil bunny right there. But since we have Marin, no soft lock. So now we're going to go up to this cave.
Yeah, this will be
up
yet
here.
another use of bomb triggers. You can just use it getting a heart piece counter the cutscene, so you can just trigger it the same way you would trigger anything else.
Alright, now we are going to go to a part of the map which is strangely empty. Who knows why the developers made this weird room full of quicksand and nothing else, but...
They were going to put a mini-boss here, but I think they actually ran out of development funds.
Yeah.
So, it just automatically spawns a key, as one would expect. That is a Land Molus fight, for anyone who does not know. You can actually just kill him before he actually appears on the screen.
More hearts. And guess what? More seashells.
Yep, so one more seashell here, and then we're finally up to another dungeon.
Well,
no,
we have a couple more things we need to do.
Sagaz does stuff here, I actually forgot. I believe he still does hookshotless rooster skip. Which we'll find out fairly soon if he's up for that kind of thing in a race.
Yeah, well, part of the new category now does have you going to Tall Heights and doing a few things up there before going into the 4th dungeon. Though whether he'll do the early version of Rooster Skip, we shall see.
Only Sagaz knows. Oh, I forgot about this. I apologize. We have 3rd best song.
3rd best?
The competition is really fierce.
This is best.
You compare this to Frog Song and Mambo's Mambo. It's not this is a great song, but not everyone can be a winner, unfortunately.
No. This is best.
Oh, the Spiraster.
Then Mambo, and then Frog is way worst.
Oh wait, did Spiraster actually get it? Okay, never mind. He did. Okay, I thought he missed the arrow, but
no, he just wasted an arrow by accident. But he's good. Our first song. Our first and best song. I do have the power of audio. I can make us listen to it all day.
As long as you don't take Mambo from me.
I will not take it from you. Also a good song.
That.
So it is very important that you put the key in the keyhole here so we can actually enter Dungeon 4. It's...
Yep, this is where we reap the fruits of our expedition up here right after Dungeon 2. That we would have to walk all the way up from the prairie otherwise, but much faster.
Yeah, in the any percent category, sometimes you can miss it going there because you do have to go out of your way, but it's pretty inexcusable if you forget to put the key in the keyhole there in 100% because you're walking right past it. And now for the most important skip in the game, there you go, obstacle skip. Beautiful. Saves all the time. Saves like less than a second, but it's cool. Ooh,
Alright, so
perfect Jesus jumping there.
One frame Jesus jump. So yeah, one of the newer parts of this route is that you come up here, he's going to get a photo and a seashell, and then most likely we're going to see our first attempt at a rooster skip. So rooster skip is one of the hardest tricks in the game, and that's not hard enough for Sagaz, so assuming he's doing the hookshotless version, he wants an even harder one.
Yeah, well, at this point, it is... Oh, butt sword. At this point, he doesn't even have a hookshot, so he can't do it any other way. I'm not actually sure how much early rooster skip saves over regular rooster skip, but looks like he's going for it.
It's like Sagaz said it was like 10 seconds or something, but yep, let's see. Alright, so this is similar to the hookshot version, except there's no hookshot, so he's going to have to rely on just pause buffering to get himself in it. The same way that one would do a Villa skip, you can do the same thing just against this wall. And then use the shovel to kind of pseudo-buffer a Pegasus jump to make it all the way to the other side of this pit. having a hard time getting the frame. He's probably already wasted enough time to make it not worth it, but let's see if he gets the jump, and he does it.
Oh
Alright,
my
let's go to
goodness.
Sagaz.
Do not attempt.
I do not attempt that.
No sane person attempts that. Only the Sagaz. Master of routing.
So he's all set for T7, but for now it's into Angler's Tunnel.
Yeah, so this dungeon is, I believe, the shortest of the dungeons, because we can skip a lot. So the main thing here, first we'll be blowing up this cracked block so that we can get this key. And now you're supposed to position yourself from the bottom to jump up there, but you can actually just jump with the Pegasus boots into the right position. There are several moments like that in this game where I think the developers just didn't intend for you to go as far as you can go with the Pegasus boots. So there are some jumps which you really aren't supposed to make, but you can make if you're dedicated enough.
Yeah, my favorite part of speedrunning this game is all the movement options that you get from these items like this. There isn't really another Zelda game that you get the same experience from.
Yeah, no D4 cue ball here, but we will be seeing the D8 cue ball. Oh, look at this. Oh, no!
Oh, he messed it up, unfortunately. Yeah, so this is a way to... He's trying to do a super jump to get on top of this platform so he can get the boss key. And
don't go out of bounds!
There's an easy version of this that we're about to see, because Sagaz is just giving up on the hard one, where you can just pick up these pots and do a single super jump. There's a much harder one. Oh, he messes up the easy one. Oh no. He's going back for the hard one again.
He's dedicating that. There we go.
Yeah, that's much harder than the one he tried just before that.
Yeah, but maybe he's just not used to doing the easy version because he's crazy, because he's Sagaz.
He could do it. And here is another excellent boss from this game. See ya, anglerfish.
Goes down relatively fast. Just a couple spin slash and a few bomb arrows. And that is it. So Spiraster went straight for the easier of the two setups. And got it first try. Alright, so now that that is over,
Alright, this is
we
what
will
I've
get
been
us
waiting
another
for.
song. Not as good as first song, but still pretty good song. Oh! Oh!
Beautiful.
Beautiful. So while I do think that Marin's song is the best song, Mambo's song is definitely the more useful one in this category. It warps you to this certain location that we use just for overworld routing. So you will be hearing a little bit of that song all throughout this run.
I think it's the only one you will hear. There's a couple, like, you can use everything else from the bomb trigger for the most part. I think for the entire part, actually, so unless I'm missing something.
It depends. It depends on the nightmare fight if they do death or skip.
Oh yeah, I forgot. It is possible to use the ocarina for that, which doesn't even really count because you're not using a song for its intended purpose anyway. We're just horribly abusing the ocarina in this run. Now we have this ghosty friend after us. Now, he's very sad because I guess he's dead. That's a fair reason to be sad. And this is a side quest where we have to take him to his house and then his grave. Then he'll leave us alone. This is completely skippable by just not doing D4 until later, which in most of the categories is the case. However, we unlock a photograph by finishing this, so we do D4 right now, and we'll do the whole thing.
See, Sagaz has to save this ghost because definitely he's this ghost cousin or something.
I don't know the lore behind that.
Well, you see, Sagaz is like the big ghost in the graveyard, and this is a little ghost, so maybe they're related or something. I don't know.
So something Spiraster's doing now that Sagaz just did is another bomb trigger, and this is going to skip the second half of the trading sequence we talked about earlier. This just makes the fisherman give us the bra for the mermaid. Oh, I'm sorry, the necklace. This is a PG-rated stream. So we're going to give the necklace to the mermaid, and she'll give us the golden scale.
Then we can take this scale right over here and do a trick called a Zora bump. Oh, Sagaz failed it.
Yeah, this is one of the. This is a newer addition to this. Oh, he got ghost rolled right as he did the jump.
Oh no!
But yeah, this is giving us the magnifying lens much earlier than we're supposed to have it in the run, and the reason for that will become clear once we get to Dungeon 5.
Will we make it?
Yep,
yeah.
Alright, there we go. So you're supposed to have the hookshot to get across there, but this will get us the hookshot later. For now, here's the magnifying lens, and we are done with the trading sequence.
Well, there is still one more trade.
Oh, that does count as a trade, I suppose.
You're giving up an item for another item. I believe that counts as trading. Of some variety. Yeah, so you can get this photograph either before or after getting the magnifying lens. It doesn't really matter which one you do.
Yep. Yeah. Spiraster is now trying his hands at the Zora bump.
Didn't like the setup there, I guess. No?
Yeah, there's
Come on, Spiraster. You can do this.
Every location of the Zora has a different strategy for it. I'm not actually clear on what the intricacies are, but this is a very involved trick.
Yeah, there's just different setups. Some people prefer one setup over the other. I believe this setup that Spiraster is using right now is sort of the most well-known or easiest to set up version.
Pegasus Boots gets him there, and it does.
There we go. Look at this lovely house. Wouldn't you like to stay at this house?
I'm not sure what the deal is with all the floor tiles that are actually cracking into dust over bottomless pits. I don't know what he built his house over.
Well, it's kind of on the side of a cliff or something, so maybe...
A very, very deep cliff.
Yeah, maybe. It's a dream. You don't need to worry about it.
Now, this is the nightmare part. I would never live in that house. Alright, so this is the last trade. Since we have the magnifying lens, we can see this dog-looking guy and trade any item we want for the boomerang. In this case, we went the shovel, so we now have one of the most powerful items in the game, which we actually do get to put some good use in a couple places.
So now that we've gotten the boomerang, we can do what else? More seashell getting! Woo! So first, there's this seashell down here, underneath this plant, because that's where seashells are, underneath plants on little islands.
It is technically in the sea, so I'll give that one a pass.
Okay, and then there's this one on a cliff.
That one I'm not so sure about. This is going to be upgrade number 2. This time we're going to get 60 arrows, which we've actually run kind of low on them at this point, so this is a very welcome time to get them. Down to 1, it looks like.
Yeah, arrow count can be rather tight, because, as we saw earlier, they're extremely useful for killing mini-bosses, and also firing bomb arrows is a lot faster than placing a bomb. So, getting this arrow refill here is very useful. So there's our first use of the second best song. and we're going to head over to this ghost's grave to put him at rest, and more importantly, to take his picture.
And after all this, we'll be into the optional dungeon from the DX version, which is the color dungeon. And this is another place where the strats have kind of grown a lot recently, just because this is not part of the 90% run, so a lot of runners are a little less practiced in it, but at this point, all the top runners 100% are just as good at this as anything else.
One thing that has changed in the most recent version of this route is, in order to get the third song, the worst song, you need 300 rupees, and so all those rupees need to be routed in somewhere. It used to be that we got them in other chests around, but now we actually get almost all of that money in the color dungeon. And now for the Graves of Annoyingness. Annoying because sometimes they just do not want to move.
Yeah, the hitboxes where you have to stand to push them are kind of skinny and very much do not cover the entire Graves, and it's very obnoxious.
I love the version of this song. So good. This game has great music.
This game has very good music for a Game Boy game. They did a lot with that 8-bit instrumental. Yeah, so the boomerang is coming in full force here, just murdering those guys. And here's the secret rupee room. So this is going to get us...
Oh,
yeah,
go
ahead.
You go.
Okay, so that got us kind of close to 300, but not exactly there, so we're going to have to come there later. But the only way to actually respawn the rupees is to hard reset your game. Which, to my knowledge, is the only case a hard reset is actually required in any category in this game.
Yes, I believe that is the case. You got the acorn.
Nice. And there's no other trigger that in the whole game that actually resets like that. Usually it's like re-entry an area or something, but in this case it's reset the game.
So that acorn that Sagaz just picked up is another drop. I believe this one drops depending on how long you've gone without getting damage or something like that.
12 enemies without taking any damage.
Yeah, so it's not very useful. All it does is give you more defense. Doesn't increase your speed like Piece of Power. And if you have the acorn, then you can't get Piece of Power. So usually in, say, the any percent game, if you get that when you don't want it, you need to lose it. But at this point, it doesn't really matter. Hey, look, more rupees.
Yep, Sagaz gonna loot this room one more time and got up to 300. And that's what he's gonna need to get the frog song a little later on. So now we're just beelining it to the end of the dungeon, and we're gonna see some more very excellent bosses. Like this guy, who is now dead.
Sagaz manipulating RNG by running around a spike pit. That's definitely how that works. Mostly for this
I forgot
room
about the one fun room in this room. Yeah, this is we call this the bingo room. We need to get all of these guys into the color. It's just a whole lot. It's a whole lot of wacky, chaotic fun to actually get it to happen quickly. This actually looks quite good for Sagaz. It's nice and fast. Sometimes you can just get them all on the wrong side of the room. It's just a disaster.
Yeah, you can push those guys around with a lot of things. A lot of people use the sword, but boomerang also works.
Yep. And another excellent boss who is now dead. I think the developers just kind of forgot how strong arrows were in this game. All the bosses that can't get damaged by arrows are just wrecked by them.
So here is a important choice. At the end of this dungeon, you can either get a red tunic or a blue tunic. Looks like Sagaz is going for the blue tunic.
Sagaz takes the blue one.
So the idea behind these tunics is the blue one gives you defense, and the red one gives you some attack power and lets you pick up pots and rocks and stuff a little faster. So it used to be in the older version of this route that red tunic was definitely faster because of the increased damage. but since now we get the level 2 sword a lot earlier than we did before, Red Tunic can actually hurt you because one of the bosses of the dungeons is actually harder with the Red Tunic because the Red Tunic also gives knockback on enemies. So I think it was Black, just did a video on which is faster in the newest route, and I believe the Red Tunic is faster by like 0.63 seconds if you get a really good cycle on the boss that is annoying if you have Red Tunic. So, for the most part, it's better to have Blue Tunic now.
Well, I definitely did not know that, but it's good to hear, because it is very annoying to fight that boss with the Red Tunic on. Right, so Sagaz is now in the signpost maze, which is a very easy way to throw a runaway by accidentally reading a sign or reading the same sign twice. But he got through with no problem. And now we get to hear one of the more controversial songs. A lot of mixed opinions on this one.
Epilepsy warning, by the way.
Yeah, let's see what Sagaz' stream looks like. It's a lot of fun to see how different people's broadcasting setups render the screen in different ways. This is really hard to look at.
So essentially what's happening here is that the Game Boy isn't great at dimming the lights, which is what is supposed to be happening here. It's supposed to be that the room is dim except for lights around the three frogs. So how it overcomes this is that it just switches from darkness to light really fast, and on the actual console, it shows up nicely as that effect. But most people's streams aren't 60 frames per second, which means you can't see that, which means it looks bad.
Yeah, it's depending on exactly how it's set up. Sometimes it can look perfect, sometimes it looks just like one or the other, sometimes it's a complete mess. That would be mine. Let's see what Spiraster's looks like. Okay, this is more what in line with what mine looks like.
Yeah.
Hectic flashes at random intervals.
It's not good. So I suggest averting your eyes and looking at Sagaz' screen.
No, it's better than looking at what Sagaz is just swimming. I'd rather look at the frog.
Yeah, so Sagaz is getting this heart piece down here that is one of those, I hope you bought the strategy guide or Nintendo Power to figure out that there's a heart piece down here. Because I don't think anywhere in the game mentions the heart pieces down there, and it is hard to find. Yes, Corin, it is quicker to go to the warp than to Mambo here. I don't know how much time it saves, but it is faster. Sagaz, having a little cool graphical glitch there. If you enter this house while jumping, then it looks like Link does a little roll. So with that, I believe that is the last photo of the game.
Oh, I guess you're actually right.
Yeah, so this route does all of the photos pretty early. Compared to the second recent route, this route does a lot of overworld stuff in the beginning, and then by the end, there's almost nothing to do other than just going from dungeon to dungeon. So we actually get the photos out of the way pretty quickly. Sega's doing a quick photo check there. Too fast for me to see if he got all the photos, but I believe he got all of them. I don't remember him skipping any, so.
So, yep, the next destination here is Dungeon 6. So first of all, we gotta go get the key down in the South Shrine, then we're up to the north to enter the dungeon. There's some cool movement with the shield and the Pegasus boots in here. You can bonk the armresters out of the way. Sometimes you can just kind of clip past them if you're close enough to the top wall.
So that Armos maze is where Bow Wow comes in useful, because Bow Wow will eat a lot of those Armos statues. And here's the Armos Knight. So there's a lot of ways to defeat him. Essentially, his thing is that when he slams onto the ground, it stuns you. So people have various different techniques to avoid that. Sometimes people will get the feather and they'll jump. Sometimes people will use the boots and they'll bounce off the wall, so they'll be in the air when he comes down. And then sometimes you can just survive and the tank, or you can just tank it and get stunned for a second, but pick yourself up and defeat him. Alright, so now we're going to head through this random little island passageway to get to our next dungeon.
Yet
Picking
another
up
spot there where the hook shot's supposed to be required, but using a little jump across diagonally, you can make it all the way there.
Yeah, once again, the developers underestimated how far you can actually jump with the feather and the Pegasus boots, so their oversights are our gains.
So most of the dungeons at this point, we have enough items to just break in terrible ways. This one is not an exception. We have to go this way for just a little bit to get to the item of the dungeon, which is the level 2 bracelet. We will use it exactly once in the entire game to pick up a single big rock in this dungeon, and then we won't really care much anymore.
Yeah, it is the second most useless dungeon item. There is, in fact, a more useless one that we use a grand total of 0 times. So here's a tile room.
Yeah, it wouldn't be Zelda without a tile room. In this case, there's a glitch you can do with the hook shot to make yourself invincible and just kind of chill, but no hook shot yet, obviously, so... Like, bombing that is kind of cute, actually. I have not seen that before. Get you out of the room a little faster.
Yeah, you might think, oh, it's such a waste using all those arrows there, but we get so many arrows because of the arrow upgrade and the fact that the bat refills our arrows, that you have plenty of arrows by this point.
We call this little section parkour with a whole bunch of little super jumps in rapid succession. That lets us skip. We just skipped like 2/3 of the dungeon just by getting up here. This is the very end of it. Now we're going to go back down and do another super jump to get over that wall. And then just one more to get to the other side of this, which is supposed to be earlier in the dungeon than we just... Oh, no! Okay. Can he escape? Okay, that's... He's got...
Oh, Sagaz, no!
So, that is a... That is one of the trickier super jumps in the game, because you have about a 2-pixel window to stand to actually make it. If you're too close to the bottom, you just won't make it. If you're too close to the top, you soft lock in that little spot there, which is what we just saw. So you have to save and quit, and you have to do the entire room again, which feels really bad. So that just evened up the run a lot more. This is now a very close run.
Sagaz, I think, is still a little bit ahead because Spiraster still needs to go get the key.
The bird key, correct. So, but it was like a whole minute lead, and it's very much not that anymore.
Yeah, so, typically you won't soft lock here just because there's a distinct visual cue of where not to go and where to go based on the ripples in the water. But when you're going fast...
Yeah, you don't take the time to look at that stuff. You just go, and Sagaz, I guess, just went a little too far.
Alright, here is the most skill-intensive part of the run. Horse heads. I was not counting.
He was throwing too fast. It was a very skillful throwing, this RNG not so skillful.
Oh my goodness, Spiraster getting first try horse heads. I call hacks. Maybe he stole Bamboo's
I was trying to remember whose cartridge it was that got stolen when that happened.
Oh, so Spiraster getting a little lucky there. If you fall into that vortex thing, it actually sends you to the beginning of the
that's
dungeon.
worse than
Thankfully, he
soft
just
launch.
fell into a pit.
That's worse than what Sagaz did, because that you have to do horse heads and tile room again if that happens to you. But another excellent boss, a literal smiley face.
Yeah, so Facade here, you can actually damage him 3 times before he appears, because his hitbox is there. So you can hit him 3 times before he visually appears, and then 2 more times kills him.
My least favorite part about that boss isn't even a facade. A facade is almost always a wall. He's on the floor. So I'm really not a fan of this guy.
Spiraster playing the triangle with a bomb. As we will see later, bombs are the most musical of instruments, so makes sense.
Yeah, between this and Ocarina of Time, bombs are extremely musical. There are now 2 Zelda games you can play bombs in.
Alright, so now, since we have all of these seashells that we got from running around the island a whole bunch, here is our reward, the level 2 sword, which looks pretty much the exact same as the level 1 sword, but it gives you laser beam!
And a very cool cutscene when you collect it.
Beautiful. Look at those laser beams. Yeah, so even though it looks different in that cutscene, in practice it really doesn't look any
you
different.
get sword beams when you're at full health, like in some other Zelda games, but we don't really put that to any major use at any point. And we're back to Dungeon 5, and this is another very broken one. This harkens back to how we got the magnifying lens early on, which I'll just get the boomerang. The reason we did that was so that we can glitch this dungeon all to hell.
Yeah, so this dungeon is actually faster in the 100% version than the 80% version because in this version we have the boomerang. The reason that's useful is essentially how this game works is in certain rooms there are items like keys and such that are assigned to each specific room. And in the room that Sagaz is in right now, what is supposed to drop is a key, but in the room right next door, you're supposed to get the hook shot. So you can use the boomerang to pull the key into the other room, and the game's like, oh, you picked up this item in this room, so it must be the hook shot. Unfortunately, it is a 50% chance of getting it, even if you have the setup right. So sometimes it can troll you.
And Spiraster gets it first try, and alright, Sagaz and Spiraster are now exactly in the same place in this dungeon, which is excellent.
Very nice. Now you gotta pick up the key, which is still in that room, because we'll be needing it later. Oh, I guess we have a lead change, so...
We got some sync, yeah. Sagaz still has a little bit of a lead because he has the bird key and Spiraster does not, but that's gonna be a matter of 20 seconds a little later on. So at the moment, Spiraster is in front at the dungeon.
Yeah, so now that we have the hookshot, we need to go to the back of the dungeon to get the nightmare key, or the boss key. So, in the 90% category, we actually get the hookshot after we come over here. So there is this fancy jump you can do, but since we have the hookshot, you can just pick it up here. And now that we have the hookshot, and we have the nightmare key, we're gonna head straight to the boss room. To the worst boss of all. I hate this boss with a fiery passion.
Thankfully, there's no red tuning this time, so he's a real nightmare when you have that, but he just takes some really quick reactions to 2-cycle, which I do not possess those either, so I also hate this boss.
Yeah, there is a setup you can do that if you're good, you can get it every time.
Yeah.
If you are me, then you don't get it every time, and sadness ensues. Oh no! Sagaz taking the lead because of the fall.
Alright, let's see how these guys do in Slant Eel. So if you have the red tunic on this boss, what happens to you is hitting an enemy with the red tunic gives both a damage boost and a large amount of knockback and hit stun. With this boss, there's no knockback because it's a boss. There's no increased damage just because it's a boss. But you do get the hit stun, which makes it very, very difficult to cycle him, rather. But it's a lot easier if you have the blue tunic.
So Golden Lures, like Matt said, because of this newest route, the red and blue tunic are pretty much the same in terms of speed if you play it optimally. Red is 0.6 seconds faster, but since that boss that we just saw often isn't done optimally, blue tunic is a lot safer.
That's 2 dungeons left to go, so we're back up to Telltale Heights to clean them up.
Doing a nice bonk. Alright, so we're going to be heading up to Dungeon 7. So I guess Sagaz is a little bit in the lead, even though it doesn't look like it, because he did do Rooster Skip. Early Rooster Skip, whereas Spiraster has not done that yet. So Spiraster will have to go get that key, whereas Sagaz can just head straight to Dungeon 7 after getting this heart piece hidden away in this cave.
And yet another bomb trigger here. Is this the last heart piece? There is one more, never mind. Okay, that's coming.
On top of D8.
Yeah, and D8. I forgot about that one. Alright, obstacle skip number 2.
Beautiful. Also beautiful.
Less.
Was that 4 for 4 on obstacle skips?
I think we're 4 for 4.
Very nice. No one has to be banned.
Yep, Sagaz takes the lead again as Spiraster starts to take a little detour here, and this is what the kind of true Rooster Skip with the hookshot looks like. And we'll see if he gets it.
Yeah, so using this hook shot here, if you go on the right frame, you can actually jump instead of falling down. There's multiple methods of doing this. There's a buffered method and an unbuffered method. Spiraster,
but
it looks
buffered's
like,
very
use the buffer.
respectable in an actual run, like a tournament run. But meanwhile, Sagaz is closing in on Dungeon 7.
Yeah, so this dungeon here is personally my favorite dungeon because of a lot of fun bomb triggers, which just makes this dungeon so super fast. So
Yeah,
first we need to go over here to the right, get a key, and then we are going to head up these stairs so we can get the most useless item in the game, the level 2 shield. Please do not forget this shield. It is a requirement for Hundo. You know who you are.
But yep, bomb triggers return with a vengeance, as all 4 of these pillars have cutscenes associated with them, which you can just convince the game to throw in balls at the pillars and just cheese the dungeon.
Yeah, and just like that, most of the dungeon completed. Yeah, so we're gonna have a trick here coming up here. There's two methods we have to get up to the boss. One is a lot more consistent, and one is a little bit faster. So we'll see which one Sagaz here goes for.
I think we'll see the infamous Goomba Surf, most likely.
There we
Yep,
go.
Here we go. So we have to hope that Goomba on the top goes to the right, so that we can bounce off of him, otherwise we get to try again. Third try is not too bad at all.
Ooh, very nice. Yeah, so we'll see if Spiraster does the second method, which is a P-hat jump, similar to the one in Dungeon 4.
So there's a number of ways to quick kill this boss. We're going to see one with the hook shot here, where you can hit him up and then kind of get this mystery hitbox down here and just kill him. And perfect.
Yeah, strangely enough, I have heard that you need to have saved and quit to make that quick kill work for whatever reason.
Too. But yeah, that was the P-hat super jump, which is a very cool super jump, one of my favorite ones in the run.
Yeah, and it's really not that much slower. It's probably Spiraster might have saved like a tiny bit of time just because Sagaz had to do third try Goomba Surf. So I think if you get first try Goomba Surf, it saves like 8-ish
it's
seconds.
Like 10-ish, yeah, but if you get 12 tie not Rooster, but a Goomba Surf, which is of course me every time I do a run, then it's a lot worse. Yeah, one dungeon left. We're gonna go all the way to Dungeon 8.
Yeah, so one of the nice things about this route change is that, except for Dungeon 5 and 6, which are switched.
We got a romantic moment here, too.
Oh, romantic moment where we ignore pairing with a...
They did that in the run now, okay. I did not know that was actually being done at this point.
Yes, they do that in the run now.
So there's a glitch that's been around for a long time called left-right, where you can press left and right on the D-pad at the same time to make certain items do really ridiculous things. This is, of course, illegal in every category because you can't do it on the actual Game Boy, but there's a glitch with the boomerang, which I don't actually understand, that kind of allows you to emulate it in some cases like that, which is really, really cool.
I think they call it the Zoomerang
now. The Zoomerang, yeah. I need to study up on how that's actually done.
Yeah, I think somebody put a video about it in the Discord a few days ago. So now we're going to see this bat for one last time to get the most useless of upgrades for the magic powder. Now, I guess, once again, level 2 shield is the most useless, but... So here is where you would use the level 2 shield, but we don't, because why do that?
Yeah, you nudge your way right on through.
Oh, level 2 shield. You tried your best. Speaking of skipping items, here you're supposed to use the worst song, the frog song, to get in here. But you can just bomb trigger it, and then you can just walk through this turtle's head, because what are hitboxes?
So this is the longest dungeon in the game, when played correctly, because there's a whole lot of different keys you have to pick up. In this case, they kind of forgot that you could just throw bombs at these walls and go straight past them. Now this is a really tight little trick that you can use to do a pseudo flot clip right through that key block. And we have already made it all the way to Blano.
And for you Blano fans out there, I'm sorry, but he shall not be skipped.
No, the Blano fans don't want to see him. Well, unless they're fans of him and they want to see him live, I guess. That makes sense.
Exactly.
And one more broken trick. And Fire Rod. I'm sorry, the Magic Rod.
Essentially, you can use super jumps to just completely skip Lano and get to the other side. Unfortunately, due to the definition of this category for out of bounds, we discovered, oh wait, you can't actually do that. And so no more.
This is one of the harder games that I've ever played to actually define the rules for. There's so much you can actually do that just makes the game even more broken than what you're seeing here, that to make it kind of resemble actual Link's Awakening DX, you have to put some rules down about just how far out of bounds you're allowed to go. And that does get kind of messy.
This game is broken, in case you couldn't tell. So for those who were sad we were skipping cue ball in D4, here's cue ball right here. The flamey cue ball. And he's dead. So this is the room that we like to call the Roomba room. Using that Roomba to clean up nothingness. Because that's how Roombas work. Yeah, and you can still, the game still accepts inputs as you're doing that, so you can slowly jump your way over to the chest. So now we have this boss, which is kind of an annoying boss. You essentially have to hit him a whole bunch of times with the magic rod, but how many times you have to do it? Are you allowed to mash or not? Who even knows? But Sagaz got it one cycle, so...
Yeah, it was very, very well done by Sagaz. But it's not an easy boss to one cycle.
Wang boys! Yeah, so that's just a little graphical glitch you can do if you use the fire rod at a certain point. Unfortunately, because of the route change, we only get to see it in this dungeon. It used to be you could also see it in Dungeon 7, but we'll survive, I suppose. Gotta hope the Spiraster gets it too. Alright, so we got a whole bunch of instruments and a whole bunch of upgrades and a whole bunch of photos, so it is time to go to the final
bomb
boss.
trigger of the game. Actually, this is the second to final. Never mind.
There's one little one.
There's yet more brokenness to come, but
yeah. So first,
we get to hear best song, even though we didn't really get to play it.
Best song is so nice you get to hear it twice. Beautiful, beautiful.
Doing that on a Game Boy is not easy. Props to the sound composers for this game.
I don't even know who wrote the music for this game, but whoever you are,
but he was good at it.
You're good. You great. So here we're going through a maze in the Windfish. There's actually a book you can see to figure out the path, but there is a default path, so we don't need to actually look at it. And now for a whole bunch of things happening in quick succession. First, we did a bomb trigger, which did a tech skip. Next, there was a quick kill of this blob enemy, and now for Aga. So Aga, like in A Link to the Past, he has good shots and blue balls, and unlike A Link to the Past, these blue balls can continue on forever. So the first 2 shots will always be the good kind of shots that you can reflect. And you need 2 more good shots. So however many blue balls you get is up to the will of RNG. So there's 1. And just
pretty
1.
Good. And
so now a quick kill of Moldorm here. And now we have Ganon that goes down pretty quickly. That level 2 sword is very useful. Okay, so Sagaz is setting up a trick here where he will play the ocarina on a certain frame. Did he get it? No, he did not get it.
So he has to fight Deathel, which is thankfully not a huge chore in 100% because he gets one-shot by the boomerang. So just one more eye-opening from Deathel away from Sagaz having beaten this game.
There we go.
There he goes.
Alright, now Sagaz just needs to walk up those stairs.
And time will be when... will be... right now.
So Sagaz finishing with with an official time of 1:20:47. GG's.
Yeah, that was a very solid run. Anything below 121 is fantastic for a tournament race here. And here he is now. Hello, Sagaz.
Hello.
Congratulations, that was a beautiful run with one unfortunate exception.
2 unfortunate
2?
exception.
What was the second one?
So there was D4 P-hat jump.
Yes.
Oh, that was ugly too. I just forgot about that one. Getting that soft lock was very sad, but yeah, getting that time with 2 big mistakes like that is really good. That would have. What do you think that would have been if those had both gone perfectly?
Actually, even with 3rd try early hook shot, it will be PB if I didn't get those.
That would have
mistakes.
PB'd. Wow, that was so clean outside of just a couple things there.
I gold 5 splits.
Oh
in this
my
race.
Oh, and
I
that
did not
is...
realize how you were doing that well. Actually, that's
Oh no, 4
that's amazing.
splits, not 5 4.
That is
So, yeah.
impressive when we're talking about Sagaz here, who is very much a top runner.
But yeah, well, GG. That was incredibly clean. I
Thank you.
learned a couple things just from watching you run, as I do every time I watch it.
Thank you.
So it looks like Spiraster is finishing up here. And
He is
there we
done.
go. So he has received an official time of 1:22:29.
And GG to Spiraster.
Thank you.
Oh, hi, Spiraster.
Hello.
Hello.
Alright, we can
Hi,
hear you.
GG.
So, what is your PB, Spiraster? How does this mash up against that?
My PB is a 121.31.
So, less than 1 minute ahead of it. That is very good.
Yeah, he just got a PB actually that he posted right before this race.
Did he? I totally missed it, actually. But
Yeah, so I
that's-
think this would have been a PB if you hadn't got that PB earlier, right? Or not?
I'm not sure. I don't remember my old PB. It would have been close anyway.
Your old PB was a 1:22:28.
Oh, 1
Oh.
second PB.
More like 0.0307 second PB, but
Rounded however we feel like rounding it.
But
Yeah.
actually, it's 1 minute. Something like this.
now Sagaz, you showed us your photos very, very quickly, but we didn't actually have a chance to see it. So, do you mind showing it to us?
Yes.
Prove yourself.
Yes. I saw 12, so no problem.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I don't think you missed anything, but just to be sure.
Yeah. I always do that here on race when I equip shield.
Hmm.
That was my second run with Blue Tunic.
Yeah, we had some people very surprised that you chose blue tunic.
I was one of them. I had not followed that. But I'm glad to hear it's faster because D5 is so annoying with the red tunic.
Mm. It's well, I was like, I run no woob, so I know everything.
Yep.
I'm glad I did my Amos Knight fight correctly. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, that's different with the red tunic, isn't it? Yeah, that was perfect.
very different, much harder and cooler, I will say. All right. So except for D4 and D6, yeah, the run was very good.
Yeah, so
Were
I
you-
think at oh, you go.
Never mind, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just looking at the brackets. So Sagaz is going to move on and face against Node. And Spiraster will move to the losers bracket and face against Xander.
Yep.
It'll be a good race.
I'm excited for both of those.
Actually,
I'm
all
actually
of those
leaderboard
races
right now
will
to
be good.
Remind myself who's where.
Let's see. So
Still chasing Say. I missed the last week, so I'm catching up on who's where in the leaderboard. But
yeah, Seisei is
still sitting pretty at number 2.
yeah, Seisei is in number 1 right now. Node is about like a minute and a half behind Sagaz's PB. And then I don't know where Xander is. Yeah, Xander and Spearster actually are pretty close. I think they're about a minute different. Spearster faster because of his
They are now.
PB that just happened.
He has a secret PB.
Secret PB. It wasn't that secret. He posted about it on the Discord.
It won't be secret for long, I'm sure.
So, anyone have any final words?
I don't know if there's really much to talk about with my run other than just how terrible the start was. There was a moment there where I was going to forfeit in D3.
Ooh.
Like I actually stopped for a second, and I was reaching for the button, and I almost did it. And I'm glad I didn't.
Oh, you caught up pretty well. Like,
But I'm
Sagaz
still
had
really
a moment where he actually soft locked in D6. So after that, it was neck and neck.
yeah. I'm just still pissed about it though, because to be like a minute behind at magnifying lens, and I still got a 122. Like I know I could have won this race if I'd just not been awful everywhere. So it's just frustrating. It's frustrating just seeing all your easy time saves just go away.
Speed running definitely will do that to you.
Actually, I have the same feeling when I did D4. Because I was like only 5 seconds behind my PB, which is good because my PB is good at the beginning, it's bad at the end, pretty bad at the end, and like I just wanted to reset. So I was like, and D6 was too much for me.
But seeing the time you got after a mistake like that is really impressive. It's what your limits could be.
Yeah, when a run is like on PB, you just want to gold every split. That's what I. That's what I was going to, and it worked.
All right, let me looking up to see what is coming up on the Speed Gaming Network. Let's see.
Yeah, and
Yeah, a lot of
something.
stuff coming up later tonight. The Celeste tournament is coming up on Speed Gaming 2 or 3. Luigi's Mansion, Zelda 1 randomizer, and LTTP as always.
All the LTTPs.
Right, I think that wraps it up for LADX for the day. So, big thanks to everyone who came to watch this. Glad to have everyone here, and good luck to both runners in the next matches.
Thank you. Thanks for the commentary. Thanks everyone.
Always fun to commentate.
All right, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everyone.